Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. I'm glad we have internet today. It occurred to me last week it was probably the solar flare that shut us down. It wasn't the FBI. They didn't find me yet. But I think it was the solar flare. So I appreciate your patience for getting that up. Of course, we were able to roll our Saturday morning up, and then I rolled the news on Saturday morning in place of that. So, but today we are going well. We have our standard business, privacy, security, and silly, and of course definitely not in that order, but these are recorded live Fridays 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you want to catch the show live. So let's jump on into the news. First up, Oregon passes a state privacy law, and it is just about as toothless as every other privacy law. If you remember, that one case came out with the privacy law in Washington saying, I forget exactly what the details were. It was egregiously violating privacy rules. And they're like, well, it doesn't violate the law. Well, what's the use of the law? This is much the same way. You see, we're passing all these laws in this country. They're like, it's a privacy law. That doesn't mandate any privacy. It's just we have to inform you of what data we have stolen about you law. That's what this turns into. Oregon does try to patch up a few of the things missing in some of them, but it does a abysmally horrendous job in doing so. Looking at just the summary points here from Fox Rothschild here. Similar to the Colorado law, but a few differences. One of those is that this does apply to nonprofits starting in July 2025, although nonprofits were not specifically addressed over in Colorado. They use a different definition of personal data than other laws, although the practical difference is unclear. It does not include information made available through widely distributed media. So if you have all your information available on Facebook and they scrape Facebook, well, if that data was collected from a public place called Facebook, we don't have to delete it. You see what I mean? This is not a privacy law. Biometric data is such that it is capable of identifying a person even if not used for this. So that is a little bit better in that they're saying biometric data is anything that could be used to identify a person even if it's not actually being used for the particular business application. That's actually pretty good. De-identified data is data that includes data derived from patient data and de-identified data under HIPAA, which we have addressed many times before as this is not a privacy at all. It is extraordinarily easy to figure out who's who, especially when we get into the security section and you'll see the egregious stuff that's been going on in the medical database industry. Very fascinating. I'll terrify you by the end. You'll be over there like, tinfoil hats. But let's see. The sale is for monetary or other valuable consideration. So sale is not just the panning out of money. It's also trading the data for other things of monetary value. But you're allowed to share it with affiliates or parts of mergers applications. So literally since every business is connected anyway to their affiliates, they can share their data to affiliates. This is not a privacy law. Scope processing. So, and this applies to any company processing information of 100,000 consumers more or 25,000 consumers or 25% of the revenue is also from the sale of data. So there is a list of carve-outs that the law does not prohibit the controller from doing, which includes, so these things are not applicable, conducting internal research, which internal research is always done by third-party terms, very interesting, to improve their repair of the product or service or technology, or performing internal operations that are reasonably aligned with the customer's expectations. My expectation as a customer is you delete my stuff and never use it. How's that for that? That's reasonable to me. I don't know about you. That the consumer may reasonably be anticipated based on the consumer's existing relationship. In many cases, there is no existing relationship. It provides a much needed clarification, obvious under GDPR, but not explicitly stated that parallel state laws that carve-outs apply only subject to controller fulfillment of data minimization purposes limited to retention limitation law, blah, blah, blah. Specifically saying that burden of proof regarding the carve-out is on the controller. So burden of proof has to be on the person holding the data, not the end consumer. Consumer may designate an authorized agent by means of an internet link, browser setting, browser extension, global device, or setting that enables the consumer to opt out of the controller's processing of data. That's okay as long as they honor it. Controllers must provide clear and conspicuous description of any processing of personal data in which they engage for the absolute worst thing ever, targeted advertisement, as if that's really the big problem here. The controller that discloses de-identified data must exercise reasonable oversight to monitor compliance. Great. And it's enforceable by the Attorney General's office, who won't actually prosecute criminals in the state of Oregon. So I don't have any real hope for this, but hey, a new law passed, a new fake privacy law passed. It's not really private. This was devastating news when somebody threw this on there. If you, these are actually the apps I specifically use. I use the Note one, not a lot, but I do use the, I don't use the contact one. I do use the calendar. And what else do I use? Let's see. I use the calendar one and the Note one. It looks like are the two I have installed here. And that is, in my opinion, what the best calendar app has been. Unfortunately, the simple mobile tools, they have been bought by Zippo apps, who have a regular habit of buying these types of apps and then cramming. Zippo Apps is an Israeli company. They have a track record of acquiring popular apps, incorporating ads and trackers for monetizing purposes, and several Google Play Store pages for Simple Mobiles are already marked with contains ads. So if you have picked them up from F-Droid, you are safe. If you have picked these up from the Google Play Store, you are not. Pretty much as soon as any trackers or anything gets inside of these apps, F-Droid is going to take them out, most likely, because that is what they typically do. The developer was uncertain about whether the apps would remain open source, suggesting that while versions on F-Droid would remain unchanged, future plans might involve moving away from open source. This has caused a stir among users who argue the app's source codes published under the GPL 3.0 should not be subject to license changes unless all code contributors agree. And that is a valid point. It is very possible that this company Zippo Apps may attempt to take them closed source, but some contributor says, no, you're not. Because that would be a violation. Now, can big Zippo Apps, backed by the Israeli government, are they able to do shenanigans? Of course they are. Very fascinating. Now, the good news is there is, in response to these, a key contributor. One of the key contributors, Naveen Singh, has established a new GitHub organization called Fossify X, where he forked all of the Simple Mobile tools. His intention is to maintain the apps, ensuring they remain free, open source, and devoid of trackers and ads. Speaking of which, as I said ads, YouTube just inserted an ad. How wonderful. Watch on Odyssey or Rumble. Do not have that. But with that, though, so we will have the option. So if you're using the Simple Mobile apps, look for the Fossify X instead. That's where you're going to keep those. But otherwise, you're going to be part of the big Google data collection and sales apparatus. All right, this one is a fascinating one. So this deals with police can spy on your iOS and Android push notifications. Now, there was a secret, they've always had the ability, but there was like a secret gag clause behind that would prevent, it would either prevent them from asking or prevent Google or Apple from pushing the data out. But new changes in laws have now allowed these to be subpoenaable and accessible by warrants. So, of course, when you have a phone app that has push notifications, it utilizes the services of the phone to push the service. So it'll basically go through. So what law enforcement can now do is they can do a dragnet for notifications of certain apps and gather up everybody who's received notifications of certain apps because of the way that Apple and Google run these. So United States government and foreign law enforcement can demand Apple and Google share metadata associated with push notifications from apps on iOS and Android, according to a U.S. senator. And court records reviewed by The Wired, notifications can reveal which apps. Would you stop playing crap? All right, thank you. These notifications can reveal which apps a person uses, along with other information that may be pertinent to law enforcement investigations. Senator Ron Wyden, an Oregon Democrat, highlighted the government surveillance technique to a letter sent to the U.S. Department of Justice today. Wyden specifically asked DOJ to allow Apple and Google to discuss government requests and push notification records with their users, which Wyden says the U.S. government has required them to keep secret thus far. Now, this doesn't actually have a lot of detail about how this works, but when the app goes off, in order to do a push notification on one of these phones, it has to go through the services. And then as it goes to the services, the service will push data back out. And then the Google now keeps a record of the metadata attached to that particular push notification. Now, if you are using Lineage and you have not installed the G apps, you don't have Google services. And so there is a ability to do push notifications. I mean, I get notifications, but it doesn't ring through Google services that I know of. If I am wrong about that, someone please provide me the information. But even if it does run through the Google services, I have everything on the phone that's not tied to specific things like email apps that are directly accessing my servers, routing through the Tor network anyway. And I've never used any Google account on my phone. I've never logged into a Google account on my phone. And so the ability to get that tied back to me is much more difficult. But to my understanding, if you're using Lineage and you have not installed G apps, you are not going to be picked up by this dragnet. So if you're looking for more reasons to think about switching over to Lineage OS or Graphene OS or something else that does not rely on Google Play services, that would be a fun time to consider doing that. Well, we use affiliates, and today we have a brand new affiliate I just put together, and this is NameCheap. So if you happen to be in need of a domain name and you're not getting it picked up from like a hosting company. So if you're getting a website from like A2 Hosting and you're using our affiliate for there, then you can go in and you can get your domain and your web hosting all at the same place. But if you're doing something like DigitalOcean and you're building up a Jitsi server or a Jellyfin server, something that you need a domain name for, and you need one of these, you can go on over to NameCheap, and it is a very good way to get domains. And on NameCheap, you can get the domains. Right now they have sales going on, domains as low as $5.98 per year. And you'll be able to get a few other offers and services in here. So that'll help support the channel if you do that. tlm.li/NC for NameCheap. So you can head on over there in the event you need any domain names. That will help support the channel. And with that, let's head on over to security news and see what's going on in that way. No, we're going to disallow TechCrunch. Sorry. Millions of patient scans and health records are spilling online thanks to a decades-old protocol bug. So, of course, you have all of these government officials that say we have to put all these medical records on the internet. It's going to better facilitate the sharing of information across all these doctors. Yeah, nobody in that field really knows anything about security. So they're using first thing, they're using decades-old standards. Great. And then they're using decades-old standards on computers connected to the internet. Even more great. So what is this? Well, this is the DICOM, Digital Imaging and Communications in Medicine, internationally recognized format for medical imaging. It's used for CT scans, X-ray images to ensure interoperability between different imaging systems and software. Images are typically stored in a picture storage and sharing service, or PACS server, allowing medical practitioners to store patient images in a single file and share records with other medical practices. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I think we shouldn't have. If I need to go and you need to send me on over to whoever, to some other doctor, why don't you give me a copy of that file? I'll take it over and, we can share that, or give me a picture. We don't need to share it all online. All right, so as discovered by an Appalite Germany-based cybersecurity and consultancy, there's major security shortcomings at DICOM, meaning many medical facilities have unintentionally made private data and medical histories of millions of patients accessible on the open internet. So they've discovered more than 3,800 servers across more than 110 companies exposing personal information of 16 million patients. They found names, genders, although you can't assume that, addresses, phone numbers, and in some cases, social security numbers for all of these individual patients. Like, wow, look at this freaky x-ray. Oh, let's look at this person's. Oh, okay, this is Bob down the street. Great. Good to know. Good to know that now Bob's pictures of his ED are now leaking online. with the his phone number and social security number. This is gonna go great. So now the exposed servers, more than 8 million records are based in the United States, followed by 9.6 million records in India, 7.3 million found in South Africa. And so, yeah, there's a serious problem of these imaging systems because nobody in this industry wants to do anything, especially since we have this huge corporatized medicine where they're trying to maximize their profits and minimize their expenses. And what's the first thing you do? You cut out the IT guy because, you don't think about the IT guy until you actually have a security breach. Speaking of fun security breaches, those Facebook scammers are still hitting my client. I had to send them another warning today. Like, don't respond to these guys. Don't click anything that they're doing. Because I think we had 4 more in there after I did the video. We had 4 more show up in there. If you didn't catch the video on the Facebook scammers, I dissected a Facebook scammer. And Facebook's allowing this stuff. Why is Facebook allowing all these people? They're using the exact same text. They're using the same copy-paste thing, using the same organization. They're using the same images. It's Facebook, do something about this. This is good reason to not use that crap. Unfortunately, my clients are. This chip has a boo-boo, apparently. Android phones can be taken over remotely. Update when you can. They say remotely, but as I was reading through this, it wasn't like remotely over the internet. It was remotely Bluetooth. So they have to be within 10 meters of the phone, 30 feet of the phone in order to do this. And it's an error in the Bluetooth communication protocol, which if you keep Bluetooth disabled when you're not using it, then this will actually help mitigate that as well. But there are a few different vulnerabilities. The primary one that allows access is the Bluetooth. So they say it's remote. Technically it is, but it's not like remote via the internet. It's remote via shortwave Bluetooth. There's another one which causes elevation privilege issues. Successful exploitation could lead to a race condition. Race hazard is the behavior of the system where the output depends on the sequence or timing of other uncontrollable events. Comes a bug when events do not happen in the order the programmer intended. In this case, it could provide a successful attack with permissions to perform actions they shouldn't be able to do. Sounds exciting. So there's some issues with Android. Of course, keep that Bluetooth off. And of course, we have a new vulnerability that impacts Linux and Windows systems where people could sneak in malicious code before boot. So there's a firmware supply chain company, Binary, discovered a set of security vulnerabilities that open up almost all Windows and Linux computers to an attack. The researchers call the attack logo fail. So this has to do with an attack that can happen as you turn on a computer and you see the manufacturer's logo screen splash on during the BIOS process. Well, if those images are compromised with malware, that becomes a problem because this is now running and executing before the system is ready to go. And so what it does is it's going to get in here. It can affect 86 and ARM-based systems. And here we go. So the vendors over here, and then over here, down here is the OEM and device vendor. Logo fail sits up here. And it's called logo fail because they're basically compromising the device manufacturer logo. So, if they didn't have to brand the boot up screen, we wouldn't have to deal with this nonsense. Okay, but we have EDK2, and then this will get inside of the various elements there. And the idea is that the logo fail can then bypass the system and write something to the hard drive that can be executed before the operating system is started. So it does affect UEFI systems, so we should all just go back to your old basic BIOS system, right? But a number of image parsers have significantly increased over the years. Now, if you're using Secure Boot, then this will actually fix this issue. So fortunately, most Linux distributions now will run under Secure Boot. So our old Linux advice of disabling Secure Boot, the first thing you do, may not be the best of advice, but you do want to make sure that you're running something compatible with Secure Boot. So you might want to try it without it, and then once it's running, turn it back on and see if you can still get into your system. So Secure Boot, trusted boundaries, operating system, custom logo fail, ESP, here's your image parser. So this is kind of how it all works. Now, if Secure Boot is running, they should not be able to get in here. So that's how to do it. So following companies have released patches, AMI, Lenovo, and Ironside. So run UEFI defenses such as Secure Boot, Intel Boot Guard, Intel BIOS Guard, or their equivalents for AMD or ARM CPUs. That should fix most of the issues. But yeah, I would say that this is probably the bigger issue if somebody gains physical access to your device. But it is still something that you should probably consider one way or another. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump on over there and you can see what we are up to. Wow, last post was almost 2 weeks ago. That's crazy. I think it was a week off of doing some stuff, and hopefully we'll have a new we should have a new science fiction story soon. Although I have a bunch of ideas over here, and I have not actually started putting my fingers to the keyboard yet. So my apologies if we're a little late on that this month, but we should still have one. I do need to figure out which story we're going to do and then start working on it. But that's one of the things you can do over here. You can jump on over there. Of course, you can also participate in the Thursday shows, and we have a few other fun things as well. Well, with that, we're going to jump on over to business news. So let's do that now. First up in business news, as reported by Louis Rossman, the deer disease spreads to trains. I was thinking the deer disease, wait. Oh, DRM. Yeah. So this is a high-speed bullet train. Was this Germany, I think, or was it France? I don't know, somewhere. So this bullet train's out there. Of course, the train goes down. Polish railways. So, you know, the train breaks down, so the technician comes in, repairs it, and the train won't work because they've DRM locked it. They've done the same thing Deere has done. You have to bring in the technician to reactivate the train to run his little mystical, magical program that they could literally give to everybody, but they don't want to give to anybody because how dare they do that. But this train now has DRM. So right to repair movement has a famous story. It's familiar green and yellow John Deere tractor. Farmers and mechanics have done their own repairs as long as there have been tractors, but more recent Deeres have been locked down such that only Deere authorized agents can fix them. It's deer hunting time. All right. It's a trend that has hurt the value of secondhand Deere, but despite that it appears to be spreading within the machinery world, now there's a parallel push on the railways. Polish-made NewWag electric passenger trains have been forced to give errors when serviced by non-NewWag workshops. Part of the problem is the PLCs, which control all aspects of modern life, and the rail traction system, which, thanks to a trio of Poland and Germany-based researchers, have been found to play a range of nasty tricks. They'll return bogus error codes after a set date, which would presumably be reset by the official service. If the train had been laid up for a while, or even if they are detected via GPS to have visited a third-party workshop. So they're tracking the GPS to make sure you're not where you shouldn't be. Like, if you guys remember the old television show Leverage, this was actually one of the scams that they did to somebody. They stole his phone and then took his phone to all the different competitors for the person that was trying to buy him out to make it look like he was shopping for a better deal. So these guys here are using GPS to determine if you have visited a third-party workshop. And then, of course, if they did, they would remotely kill that train. Some third party guy has gotten in there, you know. So this is where our world is going. And guys, if we don't push back against this, it's going to be a problem. So we really have got to push back. Whole business news this week is like a train wreck. HP executive confirms it wants to lock you into expensive printer. Like it's a good thing. Like they're literally like, wow, why is this? This is how evil is this? Subscribers are more valuable to HP. When we can extract more of your money, you know, you people who can't afford your groceries right now because your food prices are skyrocketing, we need all of your money. So we're going to lock you in. Not only now, I guess they're trying to sell you the paper too. Did I read that right? So HP CFO, who should probably be flogged in Times Square with wet noodles, Marie Myers. Oh, Michael Myers. Makes sense. It's serial killer Michael Myers' wife. Great. Okay. happy Halloween, everybody, has revealed via the Register the impact moving customers from transactional only to subscription-based models has had on business growth. According to Myers, the company's customers are around 20% more valuable when they subscribe to the service than they are, and they are able to stay loyal. I don't think they're staying loyal. I think they're staying mad longer. But so great. So in this time, it's costing excessive amounts of money. More and more people are getting out credit cards or taking a second job just to be able to afford regular things. And you want to scrape 20% more money out of these already stretched budgets because you are an evil douchebag who would really like to just enrich your pockets and buy another yacht than you are to actually want to help people and serve your customers well. Great. Do I got that? Okay. More broadly, tech firms have been under increasing pressure from antitrust bodies over measures and services that terms that lock customers in and make it hard for them to leave, which puts a question mark over the long-term sustainability and profitability of its subscriptions. So in the debate, Myers is reported to have said, quote, "We absolutely see when you move a customer from the pure transactional model, whether it's instant ink, plus adding on that paper, we sort of see this 20% uplift on the value of that customer because you're locking that person, committing them to a long-term relationship." It sounds to me like slavery. I mean, serfdom at best. We're going to lock you in. We're going to charge you 20% more. We're going to sell you overpriced paper and overpriced ink, and you cannot use your device without our overpriced paper and our overpriced ink. Oh, but Mrs. Myers, I'm having a hard time buying eggs. I don't care. Give me more money for your cartridges. 99 cents a month to print 10 pages or $24.99 per print 700 pages. There's also toner plans ranging from $1.99 to $19.99 per month, which are cheaper per page. Subscriptions are sold on the basis of convenience that customers will automatically receive ink via mail when it's time to replace an entry cartridge or a toner. Lord forbid I go to the local Walmart and pick up a cartridge. What is the salary of this lunatic? You want to know why I do not buy HP products? Right here is it. Under no circumstance will I ever buy an HP product as long as I live. Well, other companies that need to be flogged in Town Square. How about PlayStation? We covered this briefly on a short. This broke Friday evening, right as we were getting ready to not stream the news because of solar flares. But PlayStation to delete a ton of TV shows users have already paid for. Now, in the agreements, this wasn't like a licensing type thing. Like when you buy it, you have a Kindle, right? When you're buying a book for the Kindle, their licensing agreement is very clear. The EULA says you're not buying the book. You're buying a license to view the book for as long as they deem necessary. And they can pull your license for any reason, even if you do not do anything wrong. Amazon has that right to simply pull your access to the things you've paid for. Well, in Sony's agreement, it was not a license. It was you have purchased this. Now, it used to be you could download your purchases and have them on your device, but starting with the PS4, you could no longer download your purchases. You just had to stream them. So you could only watch your purchases if you had an internet connection. But of course, after this merger between Sony and, was it Time Warner, I think, then this caused an issue with the Discovery Channel things, which had a lot of people, had a lot of shows, Mythbusters, Naked and Afraid, a ton of other TV shows that they were purchased, but Sony does not give you the ability to download these things. They don't give you the ability to watch them on any other platform. And due to this merger, these two big companies said, sure, we'll share our customers and come together. Oh, but we got to drop off that Discovery stuff. We don't like those guys. And so what happens now is that has been dropped off. And so now all of these things, anything you have purchased, specifically purchased, the item, you can no longer access. I think as of December 31st. There's ways around that. Can I mention how to do that on the TVs? If you were to happen to watch it with some device that is allowing me to take my DSLR camera feed. Right here's the DSLR camera. I'm running it through a USB cable in this little box onto another USB cable and into the computer and running it through OBS. If one has one such setup, one might be able to make a copy of that. Maybe. Theoretically. Theoretically, if you lived on Mars. Theoretically. So you could think about that. And so in light of all of that, of course, you are being deprived of the content that you have purchased because of this deal. And so it is certainly a raw deal. And this is where Louis Rossmann, you see lately, he's been doing things like, hey, maybe that P word's not that bad. And, you know, if this is the type of stuff they're doing, I tend to agree. Now, I did the Calibri server. You didn't watch the video on the latest release of Calibri 7.0. I did a video on that, and there's a lot of people in the comments like, well, I was looking for how I can transfer my books. Well, you can't because you didn't buy the books. You bought the license to view the books. Now, it is possible if your books aren't DRM locked on a Kindle, it is possible to legally extract those into Calibri. That is possible. If they are DRM locked, you cannot legally do it. You may or may not theoretically be able to do it, but you cannot legally do it. And so I can't advise you or give you any advice about how one might do that. But big tech companies that provide these things called search engines might be able to give you a little bit of a tip about that. But the problem we have is that in our current world, they have gotten us addicted to these. It's like somebody left a comment, I think it was on that same video today, and it said, well, you know, ebooks suck. I bought a Kobo and it bricked itself on there, and so ebooks suck. I said, no, ebooks don't suck. You have bought into a subscription model on a big tech company. That is the thing that sucks. If you go off and you I think I forget the exact name of it, Bookly maybe, whatever, just a very simple ebook reader on my phone. You get similar ones for the computer. You go to Project Gutenberg, you download a book. You can go in and buy and get a physical copy of a book that is not DRM locked, and you can get that thing and you can store that thing in your database. You can manage it on Calibri. You can feed it to all of your devices. You can use it as you see fit. The problem we have is that too many people for too long have given up their ability into these things. They've bought into it, and now they have you by the nards, and they are not going to let you go. You have to painfully wiggle your nards out of their hand and go and create your own servers and create your own applications and start buying your own movies and buy your own music, and those things that you enjoy watching, those things you enjoy listening to, those things you enjoy reading, you need to get yourself a real digital copy that's not tied to their big tech services. And that's exactly what PlayStation is doing here. They are taking people's money. They are literally stealing from you. They are literally stealing from you if they are not giving you access to get these. What they should do immediately, they should be like, okay, we're going to put a hold. We're going to provide a way for you to download a copy of this and keep it in your personal files. Now, they won't do that, of course. And Discovery would have a big problem if they did that. But that's the type of stuff that needs to be done. All right, well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we're highlighting A2 Hosting. So A2 Hosting, if you do need a website, you can get your website and you can get your domain here. If NameCheap's not your thing, you can get that over here as well. But you can go ahead and head on over here for a good web hosting plan. Any type of basic websites, or, you know, like I have some Nextcloud stuff on these. I have, I don't know, just a number of different useful applications available. Of course, websites, anything like that, you can jump on over here. Don't get this most popular WordPress hosting. Just get the shared hosting and, you know, manually update your WordPress. Especially when we get a little bit further into the silly news, we'll kind of see why. But you can pick up a shared hosting plan, or you can get dedicated hosting plans. Pretty good deals over on A2 Hosting, and I really like their local customer support, which is good. tlm.li/A2H. You can go ahead and pick up some hosting over there. With that, let's head on over to your favorite place and mine, Sillyville. Well, we do know that crime has been a problem in D.C. and people are stealing cars, and now apparently people are stealing expensive jackets. And why you'd wear an expensive jacket downtown D.C. is beyond me. But the D.C. police now have a solution for this relentless crime: AirTags. So they're telling you because, of course, they don't want you to defend yourself. They don't want to lock repeat criminals in jail. But they're telling you just put an AirTag in your expensive clothing. So when you get robbed, you can find it again. Unfortunately, there have been too many cases of people going to the police and saying, hey, somebody stole my XYZ. I have an AirTag. Here it is. And the police say, good luck with that. So I don't think this is going to help either. But hey, the police are telling you to do this. In fact, in one place, it might have been DC, they were actually issuing people AirTags. Of course, they're kind of tied. DC can track the things too, so I wouldn't do that. But they were issuing AirTags to put in your vehicle, so when people carjacked you, they could find your car easier. Or you could find your car easier. They can't be bothered with that. I mean, come on. There's donuts to eat. So, police in Washington, D.C. have urged anyone wearing a Canada Goose jacket to slip an Apple AirTag into their pocket and make an increase in thefts of luxury garments. Via the coin size. Of course, the criminals know about this too, and so they're going to isolate those things with a little tracker and track those things down. Then they're going to take your AirPod and your AirTag and put it on some like police car or something. The police have my jacket, Via the coin-sized device, victims will be able to track down their jackets in the event they're stolen. Well, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to go back to the armed robber who mugged you at gunpoint and say, can I have my jacket back, please? I know you have my jacket. My AirTag's pointing right to you. Get out of here. I've seen people use them on toolkits, suitcases, says Commander Sullivan. I think it's probably the best thing you can do is if it gets taken because it's a nice way to track it. Not that we're going to go track it down, mind you. Police in Washington as your expensive purchased goods are getting robbed at gunpoint. There you go. You attempting to track your stolen jacket by radar. Seems like there might be a better way to do this. Like, I don't know, increasing proactive police presence in the city, targeting illegal goods rings, arresting repeat offenders, and not letting them out of jail. All good ideas. Allowing citizens to protect their belongings with a blaster like a good old Thomas Jefferson intended would also be a novel idea. But police said 3 suspects hopped out of a car, pointed guns, demanded the victim's Canada Goose jacket just a few blocks from the DuPont Circle on Tuesday night. Sounds good. If I lived in D.C., I might put the Canadian Goose jacket away for the winter. Just saying, yeah. Okay, then. They won't rob a congressman. That person's got security. Well, if you live in a cold climate and the globalist wants you to buy an electric car because it's going to be better for the planet, and you have really cold batteries and you're trying to get the most efficiency, don't put a toaster in your car to heat your batteries up. It might blow your car up. Yes. Yes. All right. So, Copenhagen, Denmark, toaster placed under an electric vehicle by its owner to warm up its battery likely caused a fire that destroyed the car and damaged a nearby house in South Denmark, police say. Police said they strongly discourage people from using this method to heat power cells. You think? My batteries are cold. Let me take a blowtorch to my batteries. Yeah. Cause of fire most likely found to be the toaster that the owner the car had placed under the front of his car to keep the battery warm. Fire happened on Saturday, about 60 kilometers southwest of Copenhagen. No one was injured. The car was parked in a carport. They actually define what a carport is. Do we not know what carports are? I say this, but of course the intellect of humanity is rapidly declining. I mean, just in the last week, I go into a deli and I need 2/3 of a pound of ground beef. He had to go ask somebody what that meant. Like 0.66 on the scale. And then the cashier at Walmart rings something in okay, I'm sorry, it's like 24. Oh, I'm sorry, it was 34. Oh, give me that 10 back. I'll give you this 20 instead. Oh, well, I already put this in. You can't add? Of course they can't add. So I think I got the proper change back. So, okay, never mind. The intellect of the average human being on this planet is rapidly declining, such to the point that people will put toasters on their cars. Okay, then. Well, if you're running WordPress and you know that WordPress is a security vulnerability, and then you know that there's now these proactive things where WordPress is going to send you of possible security vulnerabilities, yeah, the scammers are getting in on that too. So now the scammers are sending out emails So WordPress administrators are now being emailed fake WordPress security advisories for fictional vulnerabilities that are tracked to infecting sites with malicious plugins that will install hidden administrators and things like that. They've been reported by WordPress security experts at WordFence and PatchStack, who published alerts to raise awareness. So fake WordPress updates. Emails pretend to be from WordPress, a warning that a new critical remote code execution flaw in the platform was detected on the admin site, urging them to download and install a plugin that addresses the security issue. So here's the email. Dear user, WordPress security team has detected a remote code execution vulnerability. We urge you immediately to use this patch. Download the plugin. Of course, that takes you to a malicious plugin. This is why you hire people who know what they're doing on this type of stuff. So clicking on the download plugin button takes you to the fake landing page. And if you've ever been to a WordPress plugin page, this is well done. This is very well done. It looks legit. It completely looks legit. And of course, when you here's the reviews, you got some good reviews. They got some bad reviews. So you get all sorts of fun stuff. They're really doing it good. So here's your backdoor stuff. So they're giving you, they're making it all look legit, But of course, what it does, it gets in there and it steals your WordPress stuff. So now you're getting emailed fake WordPress vulnerabilities to click to download to install the WordPress vulnerabilities on your own site. Isn't that great? WordPress is awesome. And of course, System D update will now bring the Windows famous blue screen of death to Linux. Oh, this is glorious. Why would they possibly do this? Because they're morons, of course. So this finally might get me to be convinced that System D sucks. Finally, somebody's given me some definitive proof about how bad System D is. The fact they're even considering putting in a blue screen of death. And so with that, the reason why the blue screen of death actually contains codes that are so broad and vague as to not be useful, although the theoretical idea is that the blue screen of death provides you information that is useful to track down the problem. Not that it ever actually helped you track down any problem at all, but it did. But now the new System D blue screen of death component is currently listed as experimental and subject to change, but the functionality is simple, and any logged error that reaches a log emergency level will be displayed with full screen to allow people to take a photo or write it down. They also report that with blue screen of deaths in the modern Windows, Linux version will also generate a QR code to make it easier to look stuff up. So how long before the scammers get wind of this one? Oh, fake blue screens of death with QR codes to phishing scams. Booyah! How long before we see that? Are we going to see that early 2024, mid 2024, late 2024, late 2023? I don't know. Well, a couple weeks left, but how long? And so a small change, a single software project, but System D manages services like system settings, wide variety of things, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they're going to make it suck, just like Windows. So if this starts to happen, I'm going to start looking into replacing System D with other stuff. Other than that, I don't really care. As long as the system works. But if when Linux systems start giving me full screen crap, unless my system has become catastrophically unresponsive as it is, I don't want this crap. Here's a better idea, System D. Why don't you have a little applet notification that says we reached something with an emergency log, give us a little notification, and point us to a log file that's in a sane location that we can easily find and look at. There's a better idea. Rather than a blue screen of death, let's have a blue notification of indicativeness. How's that? Okay. We'll rename the thing. Instead of calling it System D BSOD, or we rename it System D notification of usefulness. Who knows? Whatever. And have a log file that we can easily find. Make it so simple it drops itself right in the home directory or something. I don't know if the current user. I don't know. There's better ways of this than activating the blue screen of death, because that just makes me want a blue screen of death on my own Linux system, and that really makes me bummed out. So whatever. But we'll see what happens with this down the road. Can't wait. It'll be awesome. But if you do want to help support the channel, we do have a locals page. switchedtolinux.locals.com. You can jump on over there if you want to help. Of course, help me if I showed the page. You can jump on over there if you want to help support the channel and, just participate in the community and things like that. So with that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.